Aha. Okay, that was Finster. Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. I need to talk to you about balls. Yes, balls. As you know, I'm a junk food aficionado, and I have two different kinds of balls here that are rather interesting. First, octopus balls from Japan. These are takoyaki balls. Although no octopi were harmed in the making of this snack. But these are octopus balls. And the other is, well, this is rather interesting, pickle balls by Vlasic, the pickle people. Yes, they now make pickle balls. Now, what do these have in common? They're both those corn balls that we used to refer to usually as cheese balls, those orange corn ball things, but they've got different flavorings on top of them. This is dill pickle, and this is takoyaki. For those who don't know, takoyaki are octopus balls. They're Japanese street food. They're like pancake batter with little bits of octopi stuck in the middle and sauce on top of them. And this is the junk food flavored equivalent, and this is the junk food flavored equivalent of the dill pickle. So there you go. What do these have in common? What they have in common, let me put that there. Oh, hey, look who's here. Here's Mildred. Hey, Mildred. How you doing, honey? Yeah, there you go. Okay. What they have in common is that they are junk. And I love both of them. I really do. They just make life more pleasurable and enjoyable. And a bunch of you had asked me, yes, there is a point to this. A bunch of you had asked me to do my 16 trashy pieces of classical junk I couldn't live without. And of course, who am I to turn you down? I mean, usually I wait a little while until the pressure becomes inexorable. That means more than one person asks me. And then the floodgates open and here we go. So yeah, I've got 16 trashy pieces of classical junk I couldn't live without. And we're going to go through them. And then you're going to give me your 16 pieces of classical junk that you can't live without. Now, I do have to have there are a couple of caveats. As always with this series, you don't have to do 16. And you don't just list things you don't like. You've got to have a reason that they are junk. Some sort of explanation. You can't just say, oh, Beethoven's Fifth, that's junk, I hate it. No, don't go there. One of the most fascinating things I find in doing this series is that when I talk about pieces of trash, usually somebody gets very huffy and sends me a comment that says, oh, well, I listened to it and I don't think it's as bad as you think it is. And I really liked it. And as if their taste or the fact that they like something redeems it, or it can't possibly be junk because they like it. Well, here's a newsflash, folks. No one gives a damn if you like something or not. And the fact that you like something doesn't mean it isn't crap. I have a t-shirt that says you can like things that suck. Just admit it. It's not a crime. What matters is if it pleases you, if it's fun. And if it's fun, it gets the job done. And that's okay if it's garbage. It's perfectly fine if it's trash, if it's nonsense. It really is. It's delightful because it makes your life better. And the important thing is not whether something is high art or sublime or anything like that. What matters is whether or not it pleases you. Whether or not the time that you spend listening to it is well spent. That's really what matters. It's the only thing that matters. You have to have at least the humility to accept the fact that sometimes you're going to like things that are junk, and it's okay. Just don't have your personal validation resting on the fact that you may like a piece of music that really is junk. You're barking up the wrong tree there. You really are. So, without further ado, let's get into the list. Yes, you ready? Djabadary, the piano concerto in A major. That is in my video, The Worst Piano Concerto Ever. And I have to say, a bunch of people have been very, very huffy about that. Oh, well, I listened to it, and I don't think it's that bad. Yes, it has some exoticisms in it, but you guys are so full of bullshit. It's a piece of unadulterated trash. It is formally inept. In terms of a work of pianistic virtuosity, it's a farce. I mean, everything about it is hopelessly trashy, and it's wonderful for just that reason. You know, I mean, you guys have just got to relax when it comes to these things. I mean, it is unquestionably the worst piano concerto anybody ever conceived, and a delight for that reason. I once gave a seminar chat on this piece just to see what would happen when I played it for a bunch of authentic egghead musicologists. Oh, you have no idea how well that went over. I mean, they were able to get on their aesthetic pedestals and just crap all over the piece. And it was funny. It was funny to watch. It gave me enormous pleasure. I owe this piece an awful lot because it's been a source of endless fun. And if that's the case, who cares if it's junk? It does what it's supposed to do. So there you go. That's number one. Number two, Beethoven, Wellington's Victory. Of course, Beethoven took it terribly seriously, which means he was terribly insecure about the fact that he knew it was junk. He even said so in that famous, response to the review to what's his name, where he said, what I crap is better than your highest thoughts. Rochlitz, that's the guy he was responding to. Beethoven had no illusions that it was junk, and that's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's enormous fun to listen to. It really is. And so, okay, we have a good time, and it's not supposed to, move us to the innermost fiber of our spiritual essence. I mean, for me, that's easy because I have no spiritual essence. But for those of you who have lots of essence, you just have to put the essence away for a while and don't worry about it. Next, Wagner. Oh, God, there's so much Wagner you could choose from. But the Rienzi Overture. Oh, wow. I mean, I've described it as, bad Rossini, which is really what it is. It's a terrible, terrible Italian overture full of four-square German clunkiness and clogged orchestration. I mean, when that tune comes in, da 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 bum ba da 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 da. I mean, it's like it's just La Gazza Ladra on a very bad day, and what really makes it even more ridiculous is that the very ending, I mean, it's building up to this huge climax, and the ending is totally disappointing. Wagner had a problem with endings because Wagner had a problem with proportion. When Wagner, matured and started writing his great masterpieces, from like Lohengrin on, he mastered his sense of proportion, that huge, grand arc that he needed. He really needed to work that way. But when he had to write in small forms, where you're supposed to have like something that naturally propels itself to an ending, it never worked. He never got the endings right. Really kind of fascinating to me. A very interesting question in aesthetics, actually, because Wagner's vision was always huge, but his ability, his talent, his maturity as an artist and sense of daring wasn't up to the task until he'd written a few operas and gotten some experience under his belt. And then he mastered his proportions. I mean, I'm not trying to criticize him, just to be gratuitous. I think there's a real issue there. And the Rienzi Overture shows it with particular obviousness. Gosh, what a piece of garbage. Okay, Spohr. Oh, boy. Well, here's another composer who is absolutely ruling the garbage pile. The historical symphony, his Symphony No. 6. This is the symphony where he's parodying various prior and current styles of composition. He begins with, Bach and Handel, then he does Haydn and Mozart for the slow movement, then he does Beethoven for the scherzo, and then the finale is the current period where he's trying to write trashy Italian opera. And because he truly despises the thing he's trying to make fun of, it's a disaster compositionally. He can't do it. He can't do it because he's taking it too seriously. The whole exercise he's taking too seriously. I mean, the Bach and Handel stuff doesn't sound anything like Bach or Handel. The Haydn and Mozart stuff doesn't sound anything like Haydn and Mozart. The Beethoven Scherzo, oh my God, who was he kidding? And then his trashy Italian opera, it sounds like trashy Spohr. And that's hard because Spohr is also sort of normally trashy. So when you're doing extra trashy, oh my goodness, the whole piece is a total, utter failure, and all the more enjoyable for that fact because it's just so bad, so poorly done. It shows his utter inability to get outside himself and take a step back and laugh at himself, laugh at his topics. Can't do it. Just can't do it. It's marvelous. It's marvelous. Khachaturian, Symphony No. 3. Well, we've talked about that too. It has like 16 trumpets and an organ, and it's only one movement long. It's not that long, 20 minutes or so. It's a noisy, screechy piece of socialist, realist dung. It's marred. It's oh my goodness, it's just disgusting. Some of you have chimed in on this one too and said, well, I like it. Go ahead, like it. It doesn't make it good music, folks. It really doesn't. It's just a helpless piece of vulgar. I can't even begin to describe it. You have to go listen to it, especially in that wonderful Tchaikovsky recording on RCA. There's an awful lot of bad Russian music, actually, just as there's a lot of bad German music. The difference is that the bad Russian music is much, much louder. It's not trying to be sublime and only achieving absurdity, as the Germans do so well. Then, oh gosh, Elgar, the Dream of Gerontius. Oh, wow. What a piece of hooey. And it was, Elgar's like, he was very serious about it. It was his greatest work, and he expressed his most innermost feelings. And oh boy, there's a lot of sorry stuff in his innermost self, wasn't there? Well, the Dream of Gerontius. The problem with the Dream of Gerontius is that the text is so awful, it's almost unbearable. Low-born clods of brute earth, they aspire to become as gods, and the angel of the agony and the imp of the erection, and it's endless. It's just endless, the foolishness of this highfalutin text that's supposed to embody the doctrinal Catholic view of souls having to go to purgatory and then finally get to heaven after they get zapped by the glance of God at the judgment court and all that. Oh, it's allegorical. I'm not questioning the theology of it. That's a personal matter, and people believe what they wish. But when somebody writes it down and does it so terribly, and then it's set to music of such sanctimonious seriousness, oh my God, the soul gets zapped, and well, that's the best part of the piece because it's got the big tam-tam crash. But after the big tam-tam crash, the quavering little tenor soul, the soul is a tenor, is going, take me away. And then they all sing, oh, happy suffering soul, oh, pleasant pain, oh, pleasurable agony, oh, delicious suffering, miserable horror. Makes your skin crawl. But the music's magnificent. It is. The music's just great. But it's a piece of trash. Oh boy, what foolishness that Elgar set that text. He did so much better with the Apostles and the Kingdom. If you want to be, write a sacred oratorio type thing, that's what you do. Not this thing. Oy, oy. So the Dream of Gerontius is definitely a piece of junk. And I stand by that evaluation. I know there are people who simply swear by it, and they are more than welcome to do so. It should make their inner gonads quiver with spiritual transcendence. I'm hoping that that's what's happening. Next, Liszt, Hunnenschlacht. Hunnenschlacht makes the list because of the name. How can you not love something called Hunnenschlacht? it's like Schlachthaus 5, right? Slaughterhouse 5, like Kurt Vonnegut. Anything with a Schlacht in it is actually pretty good. But this is, well, is it the trashiest of Liszt's 12 canonic tone poems? I don't know. There are many competitors for that particular laurel, but I think that's definitely one of them. Actually, you may have noticed we already had Wellington's Victory. Battle pieces tend to be trashy. And I think that's actually appropriate because music that depicts people just slaying each other wantonly ought to be trashy. I mean, that's not a higher aspect of, the human state of consciousness, wanton slaughter, is it? So I think it's good that a lot of battle music is trash, but Hunnenschlacht, the slaughter of the Huns. Yeah, it's got some religious sanctimonious stuff in it. It's got like an organ thing. It's just absolutely hopelessly garbage, and of the very best kind. I mean, it's effluvium simply permeates the ether. It's incredible. Then, oh gosh, yes, Atterberg. Kurt Atterberg, his piano concerto in B flat minor. See, Atterberg's problem. He wrote a lot of beautiful music, by the way. He's a wonderful composer. But the piano concerto, it's got a finale. The tune of the finale, which is like a bunch of third-rate camp songs, like polka tunes or so. I don't know what was going wrong with his brain when he got there, but the whole piece is like that. He wrote these works that were late romantic, almost parodies of the romantic style. The romantic style is supposed to have flamboyant gestures and big gushy tunes and kind of, formal ineptitude. Well, he takes all of those to another power in his piano concerto. It is a hopeless wreck of a work, and melodically it is absolutely. I mean, it stinks. It absolutely stinks. It's incredible how bad these tunes are. These pseudo-romantic things. It's very funny, actually, if you compare Atterberg to somebody like Prokofiev with his wrong note romanticism. He managed to recreate romantic sentiment and the romantic aesthetic with a new harmonic sense, something that made it fresh and different and personal. Atterberg, it's just sewage. Effluent. It's ridiculous. I mean, play the finale of that piano concerto. It's going to kill you. I swear to God. It's so much fun to listen to. As is Tchaikovsky's Fatum. Bum, 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 bum. Dun, 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 boom, bam. Dun, 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 boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, wham. How many times in 15 minutes do you think it does that? That's the operative question. It does, of course, have a fabulous tam-tam crash towards the end, which just immeasurably adds to the cheesy, screechy, empty vulgarity of the whole conception. But it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. It's emptiness as an aesthetic principle. And really quite extraordinarily so. It's almost as good as Hunnenschlacht. I mean, it's sort of the Tchaikovsky version of the Liszt tone poem of utmost meaninglessness. And wow. I mean, Tchaikovsky threw the thing away. It was reconstructed later. And we all understand that. I mean, he was probably right to. But, I'm so happy that they dug it out and that now once in a while we can give it a run and admire its excruciating badness for all time. I mean, Tchaikovsky may be spinning in his grave, but what the hell? He hated everything he wrote anyway. So you might as well enjoy this one. So Fatum, yes, give that a listen. You will be absolutely dazzled by just how bad it is. Ugh, yuck. Berlioz, the Grande Symphony funèbre et triumphale. Heck yeah. Wow. I mean, that was written for an actual, carrying the remains of some French hero to some French monument, they did a lot of that in the 19th century. They just march around with ridiculous pomp and grandiosity. And Berlioz was just the guy to write the piece for it. But in order to get the full cheesiness of this particular work. It's trashy essence. You have to do it the version with choir at the very end. I mean, the tune of that finale, da 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 dum da 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 dum ba da da dum da 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 ba da 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 dum. Note the octave displacement there. No, the fact of the matter is, it sounds like a football fight song, a college fight song, which is really what it is. And you have this enormous funeral march, and then an oraison funèbre with a solo trombone proclaiming some sort of epitaph. And then this ending. And at the very ending, when absolutely nothing is happening, you think it just can't repeat itself anymore, the choir comes rushing in with, of course, gloire. Because French history is nothing if not gloire. Especially when the French have their hands up and they're running like hell for the South as the Germans advance. But, well, that's another story, isn't it? So who was it? Mark Twain or somebody had said that Paris has more monuments built to commemorate defeats than any other major European city. It's like, oop, we lost another one. Slap a plaque on the Arc de Triomphe. Oh, yes, that's the Berlioz Grande Symphony funèbre et triumphale. It's the ultimate pretense that there's something magnificent there when there's just nothing. Zippo! Ay, ay, ay. And oh, he says it at such length. It's tremendous. I adore the thing. It's one of the great works for wind band of the 19th century, of course, because it's just, from a sonority point of view, it's extraordinary. And the truth of the matter is, if you do it without the chorus, it's really almost tolerable. It really is. You could make the argument that there's something there, but when you put that chorus in, oh, everything goes down the crapper. Vaughan Williams, The Lark Ascending. This is, for me, the locus classicus of, Constant Lambert's description of the, pastoral school as a cow looking over a barn gate. I mean, I just want to kill that goddamn lark. I despise that critter. It won't stop. It just blurps on for 12 minutes going, it's insanely irritating. And some people swear by it. Apparently in England on whatever that radio channel is that you guys mention once in a while. I mean, it gets played every 15 minutes. It's requested constantly. It is perfect elevator music. It really is. I can understand why they're playing it constantly on the radio in waiting rooms. I mean, when you're going for a root canal, what could be better than preceding it with the Lark Ascending? Because after listening to that, you're looking forward to the root canal. I mean, the more painful, the better. You'll tell them to leave out the anesthesia. It really, it's just so sweet. It's so sweet. It's just so tranquil. It's so winsome and mellifluous, and I just want to throttle the little bastard. Eesh, gosh. Anyway, Richard Strauss, the Sinfonia Domestica, of course. What else would we? Well, because I suppose there's some other choices there as well. The Japanese Festmusik, but that hasn't been recorded in modern times. It was so awful that people won't even touch it. But well, of course, it was written to celebrate the concord between the Japanese and the Nazis. So yeah, I mean, for me, that's reason to do it. But anyway, but oh my goodness, the Sinfonia Domestica, what dreck! It is the dreck capital of music. It really is. Of course, it's a joke. The whole piece is a joke, and I get the joke. I mean, because it's a day in the life of Strauss. Giving baby a bath, and the baby, the clock strikes 7, and if daddy does work, then he has sex with Mrs. Strauss, who really objected to that part because she knew exactly what was going on. And I do recommend that you listen to that particular passage with great intensity, because boy, I mean, something was going down there that nobody wanted to talk about. But there it is in music. I wonder if it's a coincidence that the the orgiastic or orgasmic climax of the sex scene quotes the same music as Electra's Dance of Death, the Agamemnon theme. Da 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 da. I mean, that really gives you some food for thought, doesn't it? But it doesn't make the work any less trashy. It's just, it's absolute garbage. That final fugue, the happy fugue, and the family's all arguing with each other, and the baby is doing baby things, and so yeah, Sinfonia Domestica. I mean, it's a parody of the symphonic tradition. Really, it's Strauss thumbing his nose at the entire German thing there, which I think is wonderful. And he should be thumbing his nose by writing one of his worst pieces. I get it. The concept is okay, whatever. Next, oh gosh, yes, Minkus. The ballet guy, Minkus, La Bayadère. Now, we have to have a trashy ballet. And somebody wrote very accusatorily towards me and said, you haven't even mentioned Minkus. How could you survive this long without mentioning Minkus? Well, I got a news flash for you. It's really very easy not to mention Minkus. In fact, there are a few things in life that are easier than not mentioning Minkus. But he wrote ballets. I mean, he was a very effective ballet composer, but, ballet music in the 19th century particularly is, unless it's by Tchaikovsky or Delibes, it's probably Drek. I mean, Glazunov also wrote wonderful ballet music. There are a couple others, right? I mean, I remember when there was a very brief fad. I mean, very, like so fast you probably missed it, for Linguini's ballet Egyptienne. Actually, his name wasn't Linguini, it was Luigini, but I used to call him Linguini. I used to read it as Linguini, being slightly dyslexic, and I mean, it was very hard to tell them apart from Linguini and Luigini. But he wrote this Egyptian ballet, the Ballet Egyptienne, that was like a big deal. It's like 20 minutes long. Well, Minkus was like one of those characters. He wrote for the Russian ballet, for the Bolshoi, and these big, long 3-act suckers that were extremely danceable and musically as empty. I mean, as empty as a seed pod after everything had hatched out of it. I mean, there was nothing in there. And I had a particular feeling for La Bayadère because the New York City Ballet, or American Ballet Theater, I think it was doing it. And someone fixed me up on a blind date with a totally humorless, I mean, utterly humorless woman who was majoring in something like, Greek studies at Bryn Mawr. So it was, but my dear cousin had a friend, and she knew I liked music, and she liked the ballet, and she was up to New York for a couple of days, and so they put us together. It was the most awful date of my life because she took the whole thing with complete utter seriousness. You should have seen this production. I mean, it was the famous one with Gelsey Kirkland and Patrick Bissell. And when Gelsey Kirkland came out, remember Dancing on My Grave, Gelsey Kirkland, the ballerina was high on cocaine, and so was he. He died of an overdose, Patrick Bissell, I believe. They were amazing dancers because they were high on cocaine. I mean, she came out, I swear, at no point did her feet touch the ground. She was levitating across the stage. And I looked at her, my erstwhile date, and said to her, she's on something. I mean, I said, that girl is floating. And she looked at me like, oh, no, how dare you? Oh, my goodness. I said, well, then the tell-all book came out like a year later, and I felt totally vindicated. But the real problem with trash ballet is that it does nothing but provide excuses for dancing. Well, I mean, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? That's what a ballet is. But you can provide excuses for dancing and also write good music. Minkus never felt that was part of his obligation. His job was simply to provide excuses for dancing. And there is a grand adagio in La Bayadère where, 17 million ballerinas, all identically dressed, all come out one at a time. It must take an hour. I don't know. I felt like I was trapped in some sort of stasis box or something because they're coming out one at a time and they're all dressed alike. And then they do the actual adagio where they like walk forward, then they walk backward, then they do this, then they stick their foot up, then their foot goes down, then the other hand goes up, and what really drove me crazy about it is that they ought to all be identical. and their movements ought to be absolutely mechanically precise and synchronized. And that's impossible. It's impossible. It's not. You can't. Life doesn't work that way. They all look a little different. Some are a little fatter, a little thinner, a little taller, a little shorter, and some of them had fingers that pointed this way, and some of them pointed that way, and they were never exactly precise. So in addition to being interminable, it was incredibly irritating. So that was my trash ballet nightmare. And I'm sticking to it there. Oh, well, speaking of trashy ballets that are a little bit less extreme in terms of length, Ravel, Boléro. I mean, hell, he said it was 15 minutes of orchestration without any music. Who am I to argue? I mean, really, the composer says, look, this is just a piece of junk. I'm more than happy to accept him at his word. I adore Boléro. I've played it many times. It is more fun than anyone has any right to have. But yes, I understand some people think it's junk because it's just the same thing repeated over and over and over again. And if you think that, music has to have some sort of, development or purpose, maybe, point, or emotional affect, well then, Boléro is not the piece for you, for sure not. But Ravel, caused a sensation with it, and trash often causes riots. Just, stop collecting it for a few weeks and let it fester in the city streets, and you'll just see how riot prone people become. And musical trash is no different. It just sits there and festers until it explodes. And that's what happened in Paris. And it was a big success because it was trash. And that is my point, by the way, my friends, that the fact that something is trash is a recommendation. It is not something that you should consider to be a warning, for avoidance purposes. It's not. It's a welcome mat of fabulous, trashy, junky enjoyment. Absolutely. It's the octopus balls of classical music. And then we have two more, just two more, and we get to 16. Howard Hanson, the Romantic Symphony. This is kind of like the Atterberg piano concerto. In other words, it's almost a parody of a romantic piece. And Hanson knew that. I mean, that's why he called it the Romantic Symphony. He called it the Romantic Symphony because in his mind, the romantic aesthetic was simply to take one single somewhat hackneyed tune and repeat it 20,000 times in cyclical form in every movement. I mean, even he couldn't tolerate it that much because the piece is only about 25 minutes long and it only has 3 movements. He was not going to inflict that on us for a full 4-movement, 50-minute romantic extravaganza symphony. No. This is the neoclassically trimmed down version of the Romantic Symphony. But all that means is that the incredibly hackneyed romantic tune, ya ya da 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 oh boy, is that yummy, isn't it? The first 20 or 30 times you hear it. Of course, the grand apotheosis does not occur until the very end, when it's just exuding. It's the orchestra is swimming in this tune, and then it cuts off, and we have the tender, sweet coda for solo strings that just adds an incredibly sweet element of saccharine cheesiness to the entire experience before the tastelessly syncopated coda, jum, 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 ja, 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 like that. And of course, he cannot resist stuffing the tune of the slow movement, which is a different tacky romantic tune, in the last 2 bars. Da, 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 da. Oh, boy, is that a piece of trash. And one of the best ones. It really is, because it's completely, utterly, totally aware of its own trashosity, and it just revels in it. It does everything possible to insist on its garbage, junkified bona fides. And that's what makes it a masterpiece. So there you go. You see? Finally, last but not least, oh my goodness, the king of all 20th century trashy masterpieces, Messiaen's Turangalîla-symphonie. I don't know if you ever saw the thing live, but just to see it live is to go to the circus. It really is. I mean, you've got this enormous orchestra, and then in front you have a solo piano, then you have an Onde Martineau, then you have a keyboard glockenspiel, then you have a vibraphone, and it's if you arrange them properly, they're in like diminishing order of size this way. Sometimes when I saw it when Yvonne Loriod was still around with her sister Jean, holy cow, you should have seen those two women. She would come out in this, I mean, they were large women, and she would come out in this batik dress, and pound on the piano. Opposite her was her sister, the first professor of Onde Martineau at the Paris Conservatory, Jean Loriod, who wore this skin-fitting gold lame thing, which you just expected to split open at any moment, with her hair pulled back like this, a tight bun. And these two women would be whamming at the thing. And what makes the Turangalîla so trashy and delicious is that Messiaen had no sense of humor. Zero, none. He really expects us to take this confabulation of bird songs, it's going fweep, fweep, tweety, tweety, fweepy, fweepy, tweety, tweety, and then Hindu rhythms, jump, 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 whatever they're doing, and then love themes, which sound like really trashy 1930s or 40s Hollywood love things, with the glissandos from the Onde Martineau. And at least this piece didn't have Jesus. We have to count our blessings, speaking of blessings and Jesus, because the Catholic element is absent from the Turangalîla-symphonie. It pops up later in just about everything else he wrote. But oh wow. So we have this collection of rotating objects. The birds fweeping and the rhythm thingies and the love music, and it goes on for 10 movements, and it's got titles like The Joy of the Blood of the Stars and The Garden of Love's Sleep. And Turangalîla itself means cosmic love, play, death, construction, destruction, recreation of the cosmos in Sanskrit. And all of that is offered to us as the acme of avant-garde musical profound thought. Yes, it is garbage, but oh, such fabulous garbage. I would drive 1,000,000 miles to go see a performance of the Turangalîla-symphonie. It is more fun than anyone has any right to have, and the work itself is just is incredibly jolly, considering that it has no sense of humor whatsoever. I remember seeing a couple performances. Messiaen would fly around and attend, and so he could stand up and receive the adulation of the crowd when it was over. And he would sit there for the whole thing with the score, this big score sitting there, and he'd just turn pages like this, totally frozen and emotionless. And then when it was over, he would stand up with a scowl and just go, sit down again. It was really, really special. I mean, it was a celebration of cheesy trash. It really was. And he was completely oblivious to it. That was the final irony, the icing on the cake, the cherry on top of the sundae. Yes, that this completely insane, whacked out music was presented to us with complete, utter seriousness. And there you have it, my friends. 16 trashy pieces of classical junk I couldn't live without. I cannot wait to see your lists. I'll bet they're going to be special. We'll see. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.